Morning Show. Regis Philbin and Kathie Lee Johnson.
Morning, everybody.
Good morning.
It's a Friday, and I think it's February 8th, although the staff
It's
doesn't...
the 7th.
Staff has Monday, February 7th. Okay. Anyway, Kathie Lee just ran up the street in all the snow here.
Big tractor trailer right in the way.
Go up and punch it.
And I usually love the snow, but not today.
Yeah, today was a rough day for you. Well, anyway, it is still coming down, and it looks like a major storm. This, of course, all began yesterday when I gave you the weather forecast, and the newsroom, right on top of this thing, tracking it all across America, said, look for some flurries tomorrow.
Yeah, quite a few flurries. Yeah.
Anyway, they got about 3 or 4 inches on the floor, but let her catch her breath. Let us get caught up on the storm. We'll go directly to Storm Field right now. Wondering what's wrong with it. Anyway, called up Crazy Eddies and, yelled and screamed, and the 90-day warranty, whatever it is. Anyway, they sent a new set in, and they actually sent a guy who installed it. Now, this is what it takes. Now, if you have a VCR, and we had a woman with a VCR the other day. Remember, she was supposed to explain about VCRs? Forget it. This kid came in, he was the highlight of my life, with a little toolkit, you know, with long hair, with an earring over here, fixed everything. Now, this is what it takes if you have a VCR. People have VCRs and have no idea what it's all about. But look at this. This is a list of instructions to turn your VCR on and to work it. And I have a 3/4 inch, which we use in our business, and
right.
a 1/2 inch, of course, which you use. And to get the VCR working from 3/4 inch and dub something off on 1/2 inch, you have to go through all of this.
Good grief.
Can you believe that? No wonder nobody knows how to fix a VCR or how to get it to work.
How long did it take him?
About 30 seconds.
No,
no, he was there for about an hour. But I just got to tell you how impressed I was to find somebody in this town who knows what the hell they're doing when you call them on the phone to come in.
Oh, I like this, Reach.
Now, we have a brand new show on Broadway, and they certainly can use one over there, and this is a highly entertaining show. It is opened. It's at the Luntfontein Theater, and we have him right now, the very hot Maurice Hines.
I love that commercial.
All right. That's what's doing it, right?
That's what's doing it. The showgirl?
Yeah, the showgirl.
Yes, right.
Okay, Maurice, I'm going to dance out of your heart right now, okay? I want to say one more time. You still here? Maurice Hines, everybody, from Uptown is Hot. We're going to come right back with some great new food products in just a moment. Thank you, Maurice.
Thank you, Maurice.
Beverly Sills tells how she hits a high C every time.
30% off right now at A&S. Sport, Naturalize, even Revelations. These $54 favorites. $37.80 right now at A&S.
Personals, the new hit musical that proves that a statuesque blonde lioness, sharp dresser with winning smile, can find happiness with a prominent attorney with 6-figure income, dashing, debonair, Cary Grant type, but only at the Minetta Lane Theater, a theater full of delightful possibilities and the brightest musical review of the year. A smashing new show, raves the Post. Call 420-8000 now for Personals. It should only happen to you.
There's a new kind of toilet tissue, new Quilted Northern. It's quilted so you can see how soft it is, but mostly you can feel it. New Quilted Northern, quilted for a softness you can see.
Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose.
Things have a way of changing so very quickly.
But every time you can be sure you'll have lots and lots of fun.
Whoopee. I prefer sex.
What an afternoon delight.
You did it, John. You got it all.
It's the back-to-back fun that New York calls #1.
I played rather well, I must admit.
Remember, it's not if you win or lose, it's how you played the games. You got Jeopardy at 4 and the sale of the century at 4:30. Catch them both today, right here on Channel 7.
The big story in New York, of course, is the weather, but let's take a look at the headlines now. The news has scandal poll Koch not hurt by all of this scandal. And Newsday says Koch, quote, we're up the fiscal creek. Reagan's budget is the pits, looking at the tax hike service cut. Anyway, that's what the papers are saying. Of course, the snow is still coming down out here. Went out and made a snowball in the last segment. And
all this and more for 2 days only at Macy's and Bamberger's Home Design Sale this Friday and Saturday.
February, when we honor 3 great American leaders. Lincoln, Washington, and Crazy Eddie. Yes, Crazy Eddie has always been an American leader with the guaranteed lowest prices on anything and everything in home entertainment. Get it all now during Crazy Eddie's double-barrel Lincoln and Washington's birthday sale. Shop around, get the lowest sale prices you can find, then go to Crazy Eddie and he'll beat them. Crazy Eddie's double-barrel Lincoln and Washington's birthday sale going on now with prices even your forefathers would be proud of. Crazy Eddie, his prices are insane.
Oh, to have a teacher like her, a teacher like Krista McAuliffe, the cover story of this week's People. Her husband, her children, her fellow astronauts. You'll find a lesson in uncommon valor in this week's People, the Krista McAuliffe issue.
Taken from a former member, a boys' club is a lot more than just a club.
It's a place to go besides the street.
Support your local boys' club.
all right, we are going to discuss now, let's see, ileitis
And colitis. And Crohn's disease.
And this is all a part of the inflammatory bowel syndrome that plagues so many millions of people in this country, including Kathie's sister, who is sitting next to me, Mishi Maida, her younger sister. And Mishi's had an ileostomy. We've talked about this on the show before. Necessary because you had a colitis situation?
Ulcerative colitis.
Uh-huh.
Acute ulcerative colitis. I mean, there's varying degrees of all these diseases.
There are.
Right.
Yeah.
And next to you is 10-year-old Lainie Edelstein, who suffers with Crohn's disease. Could you give us a little definition of Crohn's disease? Is that a form of this?
Yeah, it's an inflammatory bowel disease in the digestive part.
Is it painful?
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you in pain right now?
No.
Oh, good.
Just
It
scared.
flares up.
It comes and it goes.
Yeah.
And Ralph Bernershka, the great place kicker for the San Diego
Yes.
Chargers, who also has had an ileostomy made necessary by Crohn's disease as well.
Originally diagnosed as Crohn's disease and then changed to ulcerative colitis. One of the problems with the disease is that it's sometimes difficult to diagnose.
Yeah.
There's like a 10% group that you really can't put a handle on it.
Is this something that you had all of your life and then suddenly you go to a doctor, you can't take it anymore, and you get a checkup and he tells you what it is?
Well, actually, yeah, it hits people differently. In my situation, my second year in the league, I was diagnosed as having Crohn's disease and played 1978 with it, tried to play 1979, the disease progressed to where I needed surgery. Some people have such an acute attack right off the bat that they need surgery. And
People wonder, Ralph, how you were able to play with that kind of a problem.
Well, it was difficult at times. You know, fortunately, I'm not in a contact position and can just kick, but I was lucky.
Did you make this one? All right.
Yeah,
You made it.
he rarely misses.
That was a nice time. But there are people that have an acute attack and need surgery, and then there are other people that have attacks, go into remission, attacks, remission, and don't ever need surgery. So it's really dependent.
You talk about how difficult it is to discover. Mishi had it so badly, and she was pregnant the entire time, and they kept diagnosing it as either, well, you tell them about it, Mish.
Proctitis, which is an inflammation just in the rectal area, just it hadn't gone up into the colon area, or intestinal flu.
For a year. Now,
For
she
a
was
year.
fainting in supermarkets. And she had this child growing inside her.
Gee.
They kept saying it was everything but what it was.
Yeah, or viral syndrome, which I think is another word for intestinal flu or something, but never, ever colitis or ulcerative colitis of any form.
But is it something you're born with and then gets worse as you grow older?
Good question.
The problem with the disease right now, Regis, is that we don't know the cause of it. The National Foundation for Ileitis and Colitis has chapters all around the country, and they're in charge of funding research projects. We don't know. It seems to hit people Lainie's age to mid-30s, early 30s. That typically is the age. You can have it older, but that's probably when you're going to hit it. There seems to be a familial connection, but we don't know. And
Somebody
Was there in your family,
unanswered
Ralph?
questions.
None
Anybody
in
else in your family?
No.
No one
Mine
else
either.
in ours either.
And I was talking to Lainie about it. The only thing she can think of in her family is her uncle has an ulcer. But she seems to be the first with the actual disease in her family, so...
They think it's stress-related, don't they?
Well, let's talk about that. That's really critical, Kathie, because it's not. I mean, they've done tests to prove that that's not the cause of it.
Right.
And that can exacerbate the problem like stress
That
can do to a lot.
Trigger an attack or something as well.
But that's not the problem. And
Right.
for so many years, physicians have sort of put the onus back on the patient because the physician didn't understand it either. And it's only now, we have a physician coming on shortly who can tell us some of the specifics. But that's been a big problem in dealing with it. The patient walks home, goes, you know, it's my life, I'm not learning how to deal with it, I have to change that.
I got to mellow out, you know.
Well, in fact, it's a physiological problem.
But you do experience attacks of this then, huh?
Well, we don't anymore because we have, right? Maybe I shouldn't speak for you.
You're right.
The wonderful thing about the surgery, and we don't want to labor on the surgery because that is really all the way down the line, you know, is that once you do have the surgery, the disease, if it's ulcerative colitis, is cured. I mean, you are healed of the disease. And so you're pain-free. And that's the thing I would like to say for people who are facing surgery, are at that point. There is life after ostomy surgery, believe me, and to feel good without the pain and the embarrassment. I mean, Lainie and I were talking, you know, afraid to go places because you have no control over yourself. I mean, it's awful. And as young people, you know, and older people as well, but as young people, you just think, well, you know, you got to get on with your lives.
Still, you must have thought about that surgery, right?
She didn't have any time to.
I didn't have
she
the
was
same
so
kind
near
of
death.
time. Rolf maybe had to, but...
How long have you had it, Lainie?
Just a year. I got it last June.
So then you go into attacks and then you get into remission, or?
Well, yeah, sometimes.
Yeah. She has good days and bad days.
How about the fact that the surgery is disfiguring to you?
Can be a major problem. And that has been a problem with the surgery in terms of patients have not submitted to surgery until they are critically ill.
Yeah.
And doctors will tell you that that is really when you have a life-threatening situation, as in my case. I was playing professional football and didn't want to stop playing because I figured my career was over if I submitted to it.
Yeah.
And I got to the point where they had to do an emergency surgery, and I just about died. I needed 2 surgeries within a week, and was really sort of lucky to live, and then very lucky to get back and play afterwards.
But you know, we said it was an inflammatory bowel disease. Can we get a little more specific than that?
Why don't we ask the doctor when he comes out? Reach,
Why don't we
think
do
he'd be
that,
able to
okay?
tell us a little
Why
bit
don't we
better.
pause, and why don't we ask him when he comes out, okay? We'll be right back in a moment.
Ciao, Francesco Rinaldi.
Your husband seems rather weary. He has a very taxing occupation. He's on call day and night. He hardly gets any sleep. Good gracious. And his work demands absolute consistency. Potatoes? But is he a brain surgeon? Not exactly.
Time to make the donuts.
Dunkin' Donuts. Up to 52 varieties fresh day and night. Who else goes to that trouble?
This Friday and Saturday only.
Better than Gremlins, better than E.T. It was one of the most delightful and enjoyable plays I've seen in a very long time, and I have a great feeling about me. I really do.
Call 239-6200 for tickets.
The one to choose is the Daily News. The paper that belongs to you. The Daily News. The paper that belongs to you. New York's hometown paper.
Little Shop of Horrors presents its audience.
Kinky.
I thought it was really amazing.
So we've been talking about ileitis and colitis and Crohn's disease on the show. We're joined now by Dr. Daniel Present, who is a gastroenterologist and associate clinical professor at Mount Sinai Medical Center here in New York City, who specializes in this kind of thing. And let's define what we're talking about, Doctor.
Well, we can't give you a medical lecture in this short time, but essentially, ileitis is an inflammation of the small intestine. When you eat food, it goes through your stomach, then your small intestine, which absorbs food. The colon, the large intestine, is colitis. Crohn's disease, which this young lady has, can involve both the small and the large, or any part of the bowel.
But how does it manifest itself?
It manifests itself in various ways, interestingly enough. It's a disease of young people. In children, they may just stop growing and have absolutely no symptoms. That may be the first manifestation. Then you can get abdominal pain, terrible diarrhea, fever, weight loss.
Cramps
And-
like you can't believe.
Right, and bleeding. It manifests every sphere of abdominal
You
agony.
always feel like you have to go to the bathroom?
Frequently, and that's one of the major problems. You kind of pattern your life about, well, do I have to get on the subway? Will I change my job? How is it going to affect me at school? Are the kids going to worry about, why am I getting up and going to the bathroom?
Does it become a psychological terror in your life then?
Well, that's true, and that's why it's been blamed as having a psychological cause, but that really isn't so. That comes afterwards.
Yeah.
Right? In other words, if you take someone and make them go to the bathroom that often or give them that kind of pain, it totally alters their life.
Do they actually go, or is it just the feeling that they want to go?
It can be either one, and you can actually go or just have the sensation.
All right, so that's kind of like the easy side of it. Then when does it get tough? I mean, when does it get life-threatening?
It gets life-threatening when you start to get fever and you start to lose weight and become anemic. And in those situations, very often you end up in the hospital.
Now, she is 5'7". She weighed 83 pounds when she had her surgery.
That's correct. And Ralph was very, very thin.
I started, my typical weight is about 180, and after surgery I got down to about 123. But it varies. You said that's the easy part when you're sick. I'm not necessarily going to agree with you there because
well,
it's
when I
very
mean that, I mean life-threatening as opposed to...
The irony is, behind all this, and I think it needs to be said, is that both Mishy and I, who are the same age now, would not trade our lives for what we've learned for a normal, healthy 30-year-old, 31-year-old. And that's something that needs to be said, that the surgery is worth having to lead a life.
Can I tell a story that happened, Reach? When Mishy was in the hospital, and she had a 3-month-old baby at the time. The miracle is, had they known that she had ulcerative colitis, I think they would have aborted her child because it was so life-threatening. Since they didn't know, she had a precious baby born, which we thank God for. But when Mishy was in intensive care, and all of her life's, what do they call it? The
supports?
You know, her electrolytes and all of her proteins and everything. She had very, very serious problems post-surgery. And she was in intensive care, and they let me come in because they really thought she was dying. Her husband was on one side of her, I was on the other, and Mishy was in a coma. And that was the only time in my life I was mad at God. Because this is the finest person in the world, right? And I just thought, oh my God, I knew she had the bag on the side of her body now and everything. And I hated that obscenity on her body. I despised it. And at that point, Mishy came out of her coma, literally looked at me and she said, Kathie, don't curse God for this bag. She says, I thank him for it. It means I get to live the rest of my life.
And we all go through that, and that's the irony of it. You know, we put off the surgery for so long until we have it. And then we thank God that there's a chance that there are surgeons that can do it, because it gives us a new lease on life. I mean, it is truly a second chance to live.
But I also think you have to remember, this is the extreme.
Yes.
Most patients with ileitis and colitis are not that way. Most patients grow up normally, most patients have families, and it's the small percent that has to undergo surgery.
And the surgery itself, I mean, she mentioned the bag. For those who really don't know what we're talking about, how would you describe that?
Well, the bag is there. The bag is an appliance that you have to wear in your abdomen. The small intestine is brought out through the abdomen, and the stool empties into the bag. That sounds awful. It really isn't very difficult to take care of. It's as much a psychological problem and less a physical problem.
And then you are cured.
Of ulcerative colitis. Of Crohn's disease, you are not, because then it can unfortunately come back in the small intestine. Therefore, we really try and avoid surgery in Crohn's disease if we possibly can.
Ralph, we got to pause. We'll come back. We'll start with you next. Okay, right back in a moment.
February, when we honor 3 great American leaders. Lincoln, Washington, and Crazy Eddie. Yes, Crazy Eddie has always been an American leader with the guaranteed lowest prices on anything and everything in home entertainment. Get it all now during Crazy Eddie's double-barrel Lincoln and Washington's birthday sale. Shop around, get the lowest sale prices you can find, then go to Crazy Eddie and he'll beat them. Crazy Eddie's double-barrel Lincoln and Washington's birthday sale going on now with prices even your forefathers would be proud of. Crazy Eddie, his prices are insane.
Get ready. Get set for a special New York Hot Tracks tribute to Wham! And Madonna, 2 of the hottest acts of 1985. So get ready for the best of the best. Plus, a word from Madonna on New York Hot Tracks tonight at midnight, only on 7.
Turn on the heat and save 30% right now at A&S. Save 30% on every pair of warm winter boots. Every short boot, tall boot, riding boot, every low heel, mid-heel, high heel. 30% off right now at A&S. Sport, Naturalize, even Revelation. These $54 favorites, $37.80 right now at A&S. Turn on the heat and save 30% right now at A&S. Terrific.
Talking about inflammatory bowel diseases, colitis, ileitis, and Crohn's disease, and as we left, Ralph Bernushka of the San Diego Chargers was about to make a point.
We're talking about ileostomies and colostomies, which are very similar. That's one type of surgery. But surgeries have changed, and I actually had a surgery in '84 which got rid of my external appliance and internalized everything. It's called a coke pouch, a continent ileostomy, and so that is something that is being done more and more of. Lainie may someday face the prospect of a surgery, but when and if she does, there are alternatives to her.
But now, did you indicate here that this procedure is reversible?
Yes, in some patients with ulcerative colitis, you can put everything internally so you actually don't have to wear an appliance.
And then you just drain it, doctor?
That's right. You put it functions as if a basketball or a football. You just put a tube in and empty it that way. And it works quite well, but not all patients are candidates for it. It depends on the patient.
She was not, so, no.
Now, Lainie?
Yeah.
What's going to be your future?
A good one, right, babe?
You're going into the hospital on Monday?
No, I was supposed to go into the hospital on January 20th to get some tests to see how I digest and stuff. But I've been doing really well, so they said that I didn't have to go in.
That's great.
The thing that's neat about this, Regis, is that it has sort of come out of the closet over the last 5 years. And the thing that is so important is that people like Lainie do better because of the support. Her family support, the kids in school know about it.
People are talking about it more.
The National Foundation has chapters that educate people, and that's done a world of good.
Well, it's come out of the closet because people like yourself are willing to talk about it and tell you your own experiences.
It's humbling to see. You know, I had a lot of support from the community and my family and the team members, which a lot of people don't have. And to hear stories about people like Lainie who basically go through it alone, and stories that Dr. President talks about, is really humbling to see.
Well, this book explains a lot about what we're talking about, right?
And the foundation can answer so many of their questions, and they have the national offices are right here on Park Avenue South. So.
And what is the official title of the foundation?
The National Foundation for Ileitis and Colitis. This book that we've written is really a source book for patients, learning about the illness, the medical facts, the drugs that are used, and how to cope with this. We've now taken a new tack. We're really getting patients involved and coming out of the closet. We want them to admit this. A lot of doctors don't understand these illnesses. Some of my patients know the diseases better than the doctors who have sent them to me. They know themselves.
Well, I tell you something, I learned a lot today. I really did. And I thank you, Dr. President, very much with the Mount Sinai Medical Hospital here in New York. Ralph, good luck with the San Diego Chargers. Lainie, you take care of yourself, okay? It was nice meeting you. Mishy, knock him dead tonight. Carry her, will you, please? She's all yours tonight. All right, thank you all very, very much, and we'll be right back in a moment.
Fat legs, chubby thighs, and flabby bellies have always turned me off. So I opened the first chicken fat laboratory, where Purdue fat experts work to improve diet and breeding, to make my birds as lean as possible. The result is this beauty, a tender, delicious bird that now has less fat than any other chicken. Now that's attractive.
To Sally and Janet and Donna and Trisha, I'm gonna get you a Kodak disc. Win your heart, get a kiss. Catch the fun, just like this. I'm gonna get you a Kodak disc. Merry Christmas, Mom.
On the next Live at 5, The Star is a people-eating plant from another planet, and it could be the hottest movie this holiday season. Pia reviews Little Shop of Horrors. We'll have some tips on hair fashions for the holidays, and the classic hit, Stand By Me, is big again. We'll talk with the original artist, Benny King, on the next Live at 5.
From WNBC-TV, this is News 4 New York with Ralph Penza and Jane Hansen.
Good evening. Ralph Penza is off tonight. I'm Carol Jenkins here with Jane Hansen. There were as many as 12 in the vicious mob, but tonight there are still no suspects. Makers digging into the Iran scandal are still disagreeing over whether to use limited immunity to get reluctant witnesses to testify. Some say cutting a deal with former National Security Advisor John Poindexter and his deputy Oliver North would clear the air. Others worry that immunity could cripple later criminal investigations. Meanwhile, the congressmen are differing over just how much of the scandal was known to the president and whether he should have known more.